Inside this video topic, we'll discuss a very interesting concept of this course, and that is our first API integration, that is a WordPress API to our headless application. Let's go back to browser. So as we know from previous video, now we have the complete idea about WordPress APIs, request method types, and the endpoints. Now in this video, I will try to implement our first API, that is list post API, to this headless application. So what is the API endpoint? What is the process to call from React application? All these things we'll discuss inside this complete video. Before going further, I only request you to please hit the like button to give us a thumbs up to this interesting course, and please do subscribe so that I will be creating such type of amazing and interesting courses for you. Next, after this, let's go here to this JSON document. So WP-JSON, WP-V2. Let's go here inside this routes object. So I will close this first object. Second object here we have called WP-V2 post. And this is the URL what we can call using get request type. And by the help of this pattern, actually we can get all the WordPress post and list inside our headless application. So what is the URL? If I copy, let's open here. So WP-JSON, WP-V2, then we have to type call post, hit enter. So this is the API URL what we have to call inside our headless application. Let's go inside project editor. Then I will go inside this src folder, components, and here we have postlist.jsx file. So this is the component file which is basically responsible to render this post layout. So we can see that here we have a tabular format. So right now it is containing a static data. So what I will do, let's go here. So inside this component file, first I will go at the top of it and let's create a state variable so that whenever we call our API, all those responses, all those data will be stored into a state variable. So const, I will call it as post, let's say set post, and here let's say use state. Initially, it will be an empty array. Now here next I will use the concept of use effect. Remember, already we had discussed inside our earlier the basics concept of React application. So use effect, and here I will call this into our page load only. So let's pass an empty array. Then I will go here, let's say fetch WordPress posts. Now this function I will define here. So let's say list of WordPress posts. So const function, this function will be async in nature, arrow function. Now here I will first use the concept of try catch block in case if we get any error while calling our API, the error will be logged into a console tab. So here console dot means console.log and error. Save these changes. Then I will go into this try block and I will make use of the concept of fetch API method to call our API URL. So here, let's say const API response equals to await. Then here, fetch method. If I go back to browser, let's copy our API URL, copy, go here and put inside this first argument value. Now here inside this second, we have to pass an object, and inside this object, we can pass our additional informations like here, the method type. As we know that this API we have to call using get request type. Then here will be headers, and inside these headers, let's first pass our content type. Content type, it will be application/JSON. So this is our basic pattern to call this API with this method type and pass a single header. And here for the time being, let's say console.log, let's say await API response dot JSON. Save these changes. If I go here, let's reload, go to console tab. So if I reload, and now we can see that while reload, it is giving our response two times, and this is because if I go and open main.jsx file, this app component is wrapped inside this strict mode. So simply let's remove and paste here. Save these changes. If I go and now you can see that now on the page reload, it is giving only a single time we can see, and it is containing our array of data like all the posts of WordPress. So we can see that inside this first object here we have all those information. of like the post title is something like here we have called laptop one is the post, and inside our first index here we have called hello world. So if I go now, next we have to iterate over each object so that all those posts will be listed inside our tabular format. Next, after this, if we want to iterate over each single post, what we have to do, simply first we have to store all this data to our state variable. So here, I'll simply cut this await API response.json and let's store into a data variable or something, let's say list posts equal to this is here, and here I will call set post method and simply pass list post. So what basically we did inside this async function, simply we have called this API using fetch method. Then on the JSON response, after getting that list of posts, simply we are setting our state variable. So once we do, let's go inside our HTML, and here inside this T body, let's go curly pairs to write our JavaScript expression. And here, as we know that this is our state variable, which is right now containing all the posts of WordPress. So simply to iterate, I'll use the concept of map method. And here, I will iterate over each single post. Let's put parenthesis. And here, I'll go and cut this complete tr tag. Let's do some formatting. So I will then cut this complete tr. Then I will go into this curly pair post.map single post inside this parenthesis. Let's paste this complete HTML. So we can see that now we are iterating over each post. So if I save these changes, let's go back to browser. So we can see that here we have two rows like sample title and sample title. So all these data are same because actually this is the static HTML what we have pasted inside this parenthesis. And as we know that in return WordPress returns only two posts while calling our API. So that's why this HTML two times. So to get the dynamic values, what we can do, single post, if I go here, so to get the ID value, I will go first here, let's say console.log one more time, console.log list post, save these changes. So we can see that inside this first object to get the ID, here we have the ID property. So what we can do, let's go here inside this post.map, here curly pairs, so single post dot id. Now to get the post title value, curly pairs, single post. Then I will go and search for title. So here we have a title, and inside this title we have one more, like it's an object. So here we have one more property called rendered. So I will copy this rendered. So single post dot title dot rendered. Now here we have the mode, that is it is in published mode or draft mode. So if I go, we can see here that status equals to publish. Let's copy this status key. Then I will go here and put curly pairs single post dot status. Then after this status, then here we have the loading, and this is nothing, first TD, second TD, third TD, and after third here we have the category. Okay, in place of category we have the loading. So for the time being I'll put only the category ID, and the category ID we can get if I go here from this categories array from this first index value. So what we can do, curly pairs single post dot categories. Next, after this categories, here we have to use the 0th index because we want to get the first value of that array. But let's say that we have a WordPress post. Inside that post, we don't have any category. So in that case, array will be empty. And if we try to access this value, this line of code is going to give some error. So how to fix? Simply put a question mark. It means this object, like single post object, is containing this property, and if it has a value then it's okay. Otherwise, in case if we have no value, so the else condition, let's say no category. Now next here we have featured media URL. So if I go to response, so if I open, So we can see that inside this response here we have a ID called featured media equals to 15. So inside this response here we don't have any featured media URL, but we can get by using this ID. It means we have to call one more API, and that API will return our featured banner image URL on the basis of this ID. But for the time being, I'll only use this ID. Let's copy this property name. Then I will go here into this image tag. Let's go inside this alt attribute, and here let's pass curly pairs, so single post dot featured media. Then here we have action buttons, that is edit and delete. Now here we have all those data like dynamic data ID, title, post here, category, and featured media ID. Save these changes. If I go and reload, and now we can see that here we have the ID value, title value, status, category, featured image. Obviously we don't have, but we can see that here we have the ID of that, and also here we have two action buttons. Additionally, inside console tab, here we have some error, that is each child in a list should have a unique key prop. It means that here we have to pass a unique key property which basically uses inside our re-rendering process. So what we can do inside this list like tr, let's add a key property. So either we can pass this loop index from here like index, either we can use index here or simply like each id of each post, that is single post dot id. But for the time being it is okay. Save these changes. If I go and let's reload, and now we can see that we don't have any error, and also we have all those posts of WordPress right here listed inside this headless application. But here we have a catch, and catch is that if I go into a WordPress setup, go into this post list, and now we can see that inside this post list, here we have three posts, not two, but actually we are getting only two posts. If I go and closely look, so we can see laptop one, which is in published mode, hello world, which is in published mode. And if I closely look the title, laptop one and hello world, it means that only the published mode post will get into this headless application. Now the question is, where is the draft like this laptop 3 inside this list? Now the answer will be like while we're using this get post request only without any authentication, so WordPress allows only the public data will be accessible inside this headless application. So to get the private data, what we had discussed like this draft mode or even the trace informations, if we want to get all these informations to this headless application, we have to use the concept of authentication. So here now comes the role of basic authentication and JWT authentication. So either we can choose any package so that this package will be installed inside this WordPress setup, will have a key, and that key like authentication key or token that we can use inside each of the API call from this headless application. So whenever while calling any API, if I pass the token value inside header like authentication token value, so WordPress automatically checks that okay, if the token is available, it means that we all the accesses, all the permissions of this WordPress now allowed to call or access any informations from API calls. So friends, I hope now we have a bit idea about that how to use WordPress APIs into a React application. So I hope this video is interesting and informative. So please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel. Now let's meet to our next amazing video. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching and have a great day.